The Pawn Stars empire, once a shining beacon of success, is now crumbling under the weight of betrayal lawsuits and financial bankruptcy. In a shocking turn of events, investigators have begun processing the large collection of items left behind in what many refer to as the Pawn Stars estate after gold and silver pawn shops filed for bankruptcy. Why were these items left behind? Is there something hidden within them? The answers could completely change the story we've always known about Pawn Stars. If you want to know more, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next hot updates. His son, Corey Big Hoss Harrison, was sentenced to life imprisonment and became trapped in a nightmare in prison. A bitter family feud now threatens to destroy everything he had built. What started as a standard financial audit quickly developed into a complex investigation when authorities uncovered troubling items among the thousands of artifacts and collectibles accumulated over decades in the Harrison family business. The Las Vegas Institute made the Harrison brand famous through the long-running hit show on the History Channel, Pawn Stars. The gold and silver pawn shops became the most recognized pawn shop in the U.S., attracting tourists from all over the world hoping for a glimpse of Rick Harrison, his son Corey, and the beloved shop assistant Austin. However, the bright TV fame of Chumley Russell has significantly faded as investigators worked through the massive collection. They found items that raised serious questions about the shop's acquisition practices. This unsettling development comes during an already tragic time for the Harrison family, who are still reeling from the heartbreaking loss of Rick's son, Adam Harrison, earlier this year. Adam, 39 years old, who had chosen to stay out of the limelight unlike his brother Corey, passed away from a drug overdose. In January 2025, the closely knit community in Las Vegas, which had witnessed the rise of the Harrison family's fame, was shaken to its core as Rick Harrison was completely devastated. A source close to the family who requested anonymity revealed that first, he tragically lost his son Adam, and now he is witnessing the business his father founded, the legacy he built for his family, being scrutinized and investigated thoroughly. It is a nightmare that is becoming worse by the day. The investigation started quite harmlessly when financial auditors were called in to assess the business's assets after signs of cash flow problems at the once thriving business. The famous pawn shop had significantly expanded its retail space to accommodate the influx of tourists flocking to the store following the success of the show. However, the show is believed to be struggling with declining TV ratings as the series has passed its peak viewership. What the auditors discovered in the vast storage facilities of the shop quickly turned a standard financial audit into something far more serious. Among the legal inventory, items with questionable origins, historical artifacts with incomplete or suspicious paperwork, antiques potentially imported illegally, and even items reported as stolen in other states were found. The volume of materials is substantial. Natalie Rodriguez, a former FBI art crime expert who has consulted on similar cases, explained that we are talking about thousands of items collected over many decades, many of which predate the show's debut when documentation standards were possibly less strict. Sorting what is legal versus what might have been improperly purchased is a monumental task. Investigators are particularly concerned about some Civil War-era items with inconsistent documentation, suggesting they may have been looted from protected historical sites rather than being legally purchased through legitimate channels. Additionally, many Native American artifacts in the collection are potentially protected under the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, with insufficient evidence to show they were legally acquired. The investigation once again turns attention to Austin Chumley Russell, who previously faced legal troubles that temporarily threatened the friendly family image of the show in 2016. Russell was confronted with serious legal risks when the police, while investigating sexual assault allegations that he was ultimately not charged with, discovered drugs and illegal weapons during a search of his home. The case ended with Russell pleading guilty to felony weapon charges and a serious misdemeanor charge of drug possession, leading to 3 years of probation. Chumley worked incredibly hard to overcome his legal issues and rebuild his life. Lawyer Martin Cohen stated that he was completely uninvolved in any potential problematic acquisitions during the time when most of the items in question were acquired. He was simply an employee with no authority to purchase items. Chumley cooperated fully with investigators. Rick Harrison, the public face of the Pawn Stars business and the man who built his reputation on his extensive knowledge of historical artifacts, represents both an individual and a career crisis in the investigation. Harrison often recounts on the show how his father, Richard the Old Man Harrison, taught him the pawn business from a young age, emphasizing that knowledge and careful authentication were the keys to success. Richard Harrison passed away in 2018 at the age of 77 after battling Parkinson's disease, leaving Rick as the head of the family and business. The elderly man, affectionately called the Old Man by millions of viewers, co-founded Gold and Silver Pawn with his son Rick in 1989, laying the foundation for what would eventually become a global television phenomenon when Pawn Stars premiered in 2009. Rick always acknowledged his father's role in teaching him everything about the business. A former producer of the show, who worked closely with the family for 7 seasons, described the old man as tough but fair. He would be heartbroken to see the business facing such accusations, and he was immensely proud of having built something that his grandchildren could inherit. That inheritance now seems increasingly threatened as investigators continue to catalog the vast inventory. In addition to the historical items that could have been illegally bought back, authorities are also believed to have discovered financial irregularities, indicating potential tax issues that may have been ongoing for years. Although no formal charges have been filed, the investigation has expanded to include forensic accountants examining the complex business network created by the success of the show. During the peak of Pawn Stars' popularity, the Harrison family leveraged their fame into several businesses in Las Vegas, including Rick's Roland Smoke. Corey's concern with a bar called Viper Room Las Vegas and the various business deals structured by the company to manage these enterprises is currently under investigation for potential money mixing and questionable cost allocations to Corey Big Hose Harrison, who has worked at the pawn shop since his teenage years and is being trained to eventually take over the family business. The investigation not only threatens his livelihood, but also jeopardizes the succession plan, which has been the subject of countless episodes, showcasing his growth from a rebellious young man to a talented entrepreneur. Corey is trying to stay positive and support his father during this challenging time. A family friend revealed that he is still grieving the loss of his brother Adam while attempting to cooperate with investigators and keep the business running. The shop remains open, but the atmosphere inside is very gloomy. Adam Harrison's death in January cast a dark shadow over the family. The ongoing investigation has only deepened despite Adam choosing not to participate in the TV show because he preferred a life away from the cameras. From the footage, he remains a close part of the Harrison family. His death due to a drug overdose highlighted the opioid crisis affecting families across America, with Rick Harrison later revealing that his son had struggled with addiction issues for years in a poignant statement following Adam's death. Rick wrote, "You will always be in my heart. I love you, Adam." The grieving father later spoke more about the devastating impact of drug addiction, using his platform to raise awareness of the growing opioid epidemic, which claims thousands of American lives each year. The current investigation has heightened media scrutiny of the family during their mourning period, adding tension as they try to navigate personal loss while managing a potential business collapse. Sources close to Rick Harrison say that he has fully cooperated with the investigators while insisting that any irregularities were unintentional and may be a result of the rapid expansion of the business during the show's surge in popularity. Pawn Stars skyrocketed, transforming almost overnight from a local pawn operation to a global brand. Ellis Monroe, a business advisor familiar with reality TV enterprises, explains that the operational systems for a small family business are often broken under such explosive growth. Filing procedures, acquisition protocols, financial controls, these all need to scale significantly, and that doesn't always happen smoothly. Household Names issued a brief statement acknowledging the investigation, while emphasizing that the network is not involved or aware of the day-to-day purchasing activities at Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. "I want a pawn shop, I went to City Hall and they told me, 'No, you can't get a boxing job in Las Vegas.'" The statement further noted that the show is not currently in production until these issues are resolved. The huge success of the show, having aired over 600 episodes across 22 seasons, made it one of the most recognizable brands on cable TV, generating numerous spin-offs and international versions at its peak. Pawn Stars attracted millions of viewers to watch the Harrisons and Chumley appraise unusual items, negotiate with colorful sellers, and bicker playfully with each other. A key aspect of the show's appeal was its educational component, with Rick Harrison in particular sharing historical context and authentication methods for various artifacts brought into the shop. Ironically, this expertise now raises questions about how potentially problematic items might have been brought into the shop's inventory without raising red flags. If these allegations are proven to be true, it creates a real issue regarding credibility. Famous television critic Miranda Jensen states that the show positioned Rick, especially as a highly knowledgeable expert, capable of spotting a counterfeit or problematic item right away. The idea that the shop may have purchased items with questionable origins does not align with the carefully crafted image. Among the most troubling discoveries reported by investigators are some antiques that may have originated from regions with strict export controls, including items from Egypt, Greece, and several Middle Eastern countries. International antiquities laws have significantly tightened in recent decades, with many countries actively pursuing the return of their cultural heritage. Items leaving their borders through dubious means, explains Dr. Kastner, an archaeologist specializing in the repatriation of artifacts. Without extremely careful provenance research, purchasing looted items from archaeological sites or illegally exported from their country of origin for a famous business regularly dealing in historical items is all too easy and dangerous. The standard of authentication would be particularly high for longtime fans of the show. The investigation has prompted a reassessment of episodes in which experts were brought in to authenticate items that the Harrison family was unsure about. These scenarios are presented as evidence of the family's commitment to legality and authenticity. However, this now raises questions about what happened to items whose provenance cannot be verified after the cameras stopped rolling. I've watched every episode and have always respected how careful they are with their authentication, said Margaret Winters, a history teacher from Minnesota, who once took a special trip to Las Vegas to visit the famous shop. Rick always said he wouldn't buy anything without proper paperwork. It's hard to reconcile that with what we're hearing now. The investigation has also revealed the precarious financial situation of this once thriving business empire. While the shop attracts many tourists and became one of the top attractions off the Las Vegas Strip, financial records are said to show significant cash flow issues starting around 2022, when the production of new episodes slowed and sales of merchandise dropped from their peak popularity. Celebrity asset manager Thomas Keegan stated, "Smart people diversify and invest during their peak earning potential. The last time they knew that attention would certainly fade. From what I understand, the Harrisons have expanded into many businesses, but maintaining profitable ventures after the initial celebrity-driven boost fades is a challenge." Complicating matters is Richard, the elder Harrison's involvement after his passing in 2018. His will revealed that he had removed one of his 3 sons from the will a year before his death, leaving his estate to be divided between Rick and another son, Joseph. The legal structure of the pawn shop's ownership now includes several properties and entities, creating additional complexity for investigators as they try to determine accountability for any potential wrongdoing. His previous legal troubles were similar to how he successfully rebuilt his image after his legal issues in 2016. Russell significantly lost weight, focused on his health, opened a candy shop near the pawn shop, and often showcased his successful rehabilitation image. Austin worked incredibly hard to change his life after his legal issues. A friend who knew Russell before he became famous on television mentioned that he has stayed sober, focused on his health, and built legal business ventures separate from the pawn shop. The pawn shop is linked to the investigation due to his association with the show. It's disappointing that he had no involvement in the acquisitions or financial decisions. The investigation has also exposed the complex reality behind the staged scenarios of the reality TV show. While Pawn Stars presents itself as capturing the daily operations of a functioning pawn shop, the production demands meant that many interactions were scheduled and staged, with items and sellers carefully vetted before appearing on camera. However, the camera's shopping operations continue, essentially creating 2 parallel businesses, one selected for TV and another serving regular customers. Most reality TV shows operate this way due to demand. Television producer Samantha Lewis, who has worked on similar formatted shows, explained, "Although not a pawn star, you can't just expect interesting people with worthy items to walk into your filming schedule." The challenge for businesses like gold and silver is maintaining proper protocols for both the televised transactions and regular business operations that run concurrently with production. As investigators continue handling the enormous inventory reportedly filling multiple storage facilities beyond the shop itself, the Harrison family faces an uncertain future. The gold and silver pawn shop remains open to this day, though primarily serving as a tourist attraction, selling merchandise related to the show, rather than operating as a traditional pawn shop. Its iconic status is clearly shown through the steady stream of tourists still visiting. Many people are unaware of the ongoing investigation behind the scenes. "We traveled all the way from Australia to see the shop," Thomas Mercer said when visiting Las Vegas with his family. "My sons have been serious fans of the show at home and wanted to see where it all happened. We were hoping to see Rick or Chumley, but they told us no cast members were present today." The convergence of personal tragedy and career crisis creates an unimaginable burden. Friends report that he is especially focused on supporting his granddaughter and daughter-in-law after Adam's death. "When he was in his early 20s, he had problems with drugs and, my God, I took him to rehab so many times and every time he did really well," a friend shared, while still trying to overcome the looming threat to the business his father founded over 30 years ago. Rick is a survivor, a longtime partner who knew Harrison before he became famous on television. He built this business once, and no matter what this investigation concludes, I won't count him out. He's facing the darkest time of his life with losing Adam, and now this investigation, but I've never seen him give up. The legal process is expected to continue for months, as investigators work to determine which items may need to be returned to their rightful owners or countries of origin, and what financial obligations the business might face. Currently, the Harrison family remains in a precarious position. Their once envied success story now serves as a cautionary tale about the hidden pitfalls of rapid expansion and fame. The saddest part is the impact this has on Harrison's legacy, reflecting on a former employee of Gold and Silver who worked at the shop for over a decade. The old man built this business from scratch, working tirelessly to create something he could pass on through generations, he shared. Rick expanded it beyond anything his father could have imagined. Now, instead of passing it on to the next generation, they are watching it be dismantled piece by piece as tourists continue to flock to the famous shop on Las Vegas Boulevard. Many take selfies with the Pawn Stars logo and buy souvenirs, unaware that they may be witnessing the final chapter of an iconic American success story. A story that rose to unprecedented heights through television fame before potentially collapsing under the weight of that very success. Frank Fritz's peaceful mansion hides a dark secret buried beneath its floorboards. When the FBI arrived at the sprawling estate in Iowa and began tearing up the old floorboards, they expected to find typical evidence. Instead, what they uncovered was enough to astonish even the most seasoned investigators. The agents were shocked by the discovery beneath the home of the former American picker star, which would soon become national news, leaving investigators and the public stunned. Fritz's journey to his estate in Iowa began after years of traveling across America's back roads in search of forgotten treasures. The estate, located in rural Davenport, captivated him with its rustic charm and historical significance. This connection drove him to purchase the historic farmhouse in 2013, although at the time it required extensive renovations. With local craftsmen and restoration specialists, Fritz transformed the dilapidated structure into a showcase of his eclectic vision, blending Midwestern architectural elements with personal touches. His estate sits on 20 acres of rolling farmland just a few miles from Davenport, with panoramic views of the Mississippi River Valley. Fritz was drawn to the area after filming several episodes of American Pickers there, calling the place magical. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the shocking discoveries surrounding Frank's house. He once told Midwest Living magazine that he bought the property primarily for its secluded location. He then enlisted Davenport architects Thomas Miller and Sarah Johnson of Heritage Restoration to help him transform the existing structure into the private retreat he envisioned. The house was in poor condition. Johnson recalled, "It was an 1890s farm that had been abandoned for almost a decade and had significant structural issues. But Frank saw its potential right away. Good bones and a perfect location." Fritz and his design team weren't interested in creating a place for television. Instead, their priorities were authenticity, comfort, and creating a space to display his growing collection of classic motorcycles and American memorabilia. The renovated home became a blend of many styles, part traditional farmhouse, part rustic cabin, part collector's paradise. "It doesn't try to be anything specific," Miller explained. "It reflects Frank's personality perfectly, simple, authentic, and full of stories." A top priority in the renovation process was structural integrity, ensuring that the old farmhouse could stand for another century. The sagging floors were reinforced, and the foundation was stabilized before any aesthetic work began. Fritz brought the eye of a collector to the finishing details of the interior space. What he wanted was authenticity, a home that honored its 130-year history while still meeting modern comforts. "I've spent my whole life searching for things with patina and history," Fritz explained during a rare home tour. "I wanted my house to feel like it had been lived in and loved through generations." After leaving American Pickers in 2020 and suffering a subsequent stroke in 2022, Fritz became increasingly reclusive. His sprawling estate in Iowa became his refuge from public scrutiny and health issues. Neighbors reported rarely seeing the former TV personality, though the lights could be seen moving through the house at odd hours. His collection of vintage motorcycles and antiques continued to grow, transported by unmarked trucks occasionally visiting the property. Fritz's health issues have been well documented. After his stroke, he spent several months recovering, learning to walk again, and regaining his independence. While he made significant progress, friends noticed he had pulled back significantly from his former social circles. His estate, once occasionally opened for charity events, is now completely off-limits to visitors. Security cameras were installed, and a private fence was erected around the perimeter of the estate. Despite living reclusively, Fritz maintained relationships with a small group of trusted friends. One of these individuals, a longtime motorcycle restoration partner named James Kenworth, became concerned in early 2025 when Fritz stopped responding to calls and messages. After several weeks of no contact, Kenworth reached out to local authorities, requesting a welfare check at the property. When deputies from the Scott County Sheriff's Department arrived at Fritz's residence on March 5, 2025, they discovered a troubling scene. The house appeared undisturbed from the outside, but there was no response after repeated knocks. Fritz's vehicles were still there, and mail had accumulated in the mailbox. After attempting to contact Fritz by phone, the police decided to enter the home. Inside, they found the house in a strangely perfect condition, with no signs of disturbance, but no sign of Fritz. A half-filled coffee cup sat on the kitchen counter, and his wallet and keys were still on a table by the door. The house appeared to have been suddenly abandoned, though nothing of value seemed to be missing. Local authorities noticed the unusual nature of the scene and contacted the Quad City FBI field office. Due to Fritz's fame and the strange circumstances, federal agents arrived within hours to assist in the investigation. Initial searches of the property uncovered nothing unusual, though agents noted that some areas of the main house had been recently renovated. What was particularly noteworthy was the library, where new hardwood flooring had been installed in the past year. This was unusual, given Fritz's well-known preference for original materials. Meredith Carver led the FBI investigation, bringing in forensic experts to examine the property. After 3 days of searching and finding no trace of Fritz, investigators made a key discovery. Subtle inconsistencies in the floor pattern of the library and thermal imaging showed temperature changes beneath some parts of the newly laid hardwood, indicating a void or space underneath that didn't align with known basement areas. On March 9, 2025, FBI technicians carefully began dismantling the hardwood planks in the library, expecting to find a hidden storage area or safe room. Instead, what they uncovered made even seasoned agents recoil in shock. Beneath the floor was a hidden room about 15 square feet, accessible by a concealed ladder. This space had been meticulously built to avoid detection, with soundproofing materials lining the walls. What they found in the hidden room left investigators speechless. Instead of antiques or valuable items one might expect from a collector like Fritz, they found dozens of meticulously arranged, leather-bound journals with dates carefully noted, alongside thousands of documents, some appearing decades old, and several vintage filing cabinets. The most shocking find was a wall covered in photos and newspaper clippings, all connected by red string in a pattern that suggested an ongoing investigation spanning many years. Agent Carver immediately sealed the scene and established a security perimeter around the property within hours. Specialized document analysts and behavioral scientists flew in from the FBI's headquarters in Quantico, Virginia. Their arrival marked the beginning of one of the most bizarre investigations in recent history for the agency. As FBI analysts began to examine the contents of the secret room, an astounding picture emerged. The journals, spanning over 30 years, detailed Fritz's secret obsession with investigating a series of unsolved cases that had occurred across the Midwest since the 1970s. The earliest journal entries date back to Fritz's teenage years, when a childhood friend disappeared. There was no trace of his hometown, but documents revealed that Fritz had conducted his own parallel investigation for decades, using his American Pickers trips as a cover to visit locations connected to the cases and interview witnesses under the guise of searching for antiques. His journals, detailed conversations, observations, and theories had never been shared with official investigators. The most concerning part was that some recent entries suggested he believed he had identified a pattern linking decades-old cases and that he feared for his own safety. FBI document experts discovered that Fritz had gathered police reports, witness testimonies, and evidence that had never been made public. Some documents appeared to have been obtained through unofficial channels, raising questions about potential links to law enforcement. The wall of photos included images from crime scenes, suspects, and victims, many accompanied by Fritz's handwritten notes. Basically, what we found was a private investigation room that could rival many police departments, Agent Carver told her superiors in a confidential press briefing. Fritz wasn't just collecting antiques during his trips. He had a method of collecting evidence and connecting dots that law enforcement had missed for decades. This discovery raised immediate concerns about Fritz's whereabouts, whether his investigation had led him into danger or if he had gone into hiding, fearing that someone connected to the cases had discovered his work. The FBI immediately launched a search for Fritz, while also starting to verify the information contained in his hidden archives. As investigators delved deeper into Fritz's journals and documents, they identified at least 17 unsolved disappearances and murders spanning Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, and Wisconsin from 1978 to 2010. Fritz had meticulously documented similarities between the cases that official investigations had never connected. The missing specific items from victims' homes, specific break-in methods, and some of the most convincing geographical patterns were the central theory Fritz detailed in his most recent journal entries. Entries from January 2025 suggest that Fritz believed the cases were connected to a network of antique dealers and collectors who had used their businesses as a cover for darker activities. His notes indicated that some rare items appearing at private auctions could have originated from the homes of victims, establishing a pattern that law enforcement had not detected, focusing on more obvious motives. FBI analysts were astounded to discover that Fritz had compiled a list of names, including several prominent figures in the world of antiques, whom he suspected to be involved. Even more shocking was that he had recorded seemingly harmless encounters with these individuals during his time on American Pickers, noting behaviors or comments that had raised his suspicions. The most recent journal entry, dated February 12, 2025, contained a chilling final line. "They know I know. Meet Jay tomorrow to hand over everything if anything happens to me." The truth was beneath the library floor, and the FBI's discovery at Fritz's estate quickly expanded into a multi-state operation. Unsolved cold case units in 4 states were activated to review the cases that Fritz had connected, benefiting from his years of research. Agent Carver established a dedicated task force based at a secure facility near Davenport, working to verify Fritz's claims while continuing to search for the missing collector. On March 15, 2025, the investigation took another dramatic turn when agents identified Jay from Fritz's last journal entry as Joanna Wills, a former district attorney who had worked on several unsolved cases in the 1990s before going to prison. When agents located Wills at her law office in Chicago, she confirmed that Fritz had contacted her in early February, claiming to have evidence related to multiple unsolved cases. He had scheduled to meet me on February 13th with what he described as irrefutable evidence that would identify the perpetrator, Wills told investigators, but he never showed. I tried calling him several times but got no response. Since he had a history of health issues, I assumed he had to be hospitalized. The FBI's growing fear that Fritz had disappeared just as he was about to share his findings became evident. It was clear that someone had known about his plans and acted to silence him. The search for Fritz had now turned into both a missing persons case and a potential murder investigation. On March 22, 2025, nearly 3 weeks after Fritz's disappearance, the investigation made its first major breakthrough. Based on location data from Fritz's cell phone taken from records before the device went offline on February 12th, agents focused their search on a remote area of woodland near the Mississippi River, about 30 miles from Fritz's estate, in an open field accessible only by a narrow dirt road. Investigators discovered Fritz's SUV hidden under camouflage. The vehicle appeared to have been carefully concealed with branches and foliage arranged to prevent aerial detection. Inside, agents found a packed suitcase, additional journals, and a laptop, but no sign of Fritz or any evidence of violence or struggle inside the vehicle. The laptop provided immediate intelligence. Fritz had created encrypted files containing backups of all his research, along with video recordings of his own statements detailing his findings. In the most recent video, dated February 12th, Fritz appeared visibly anxious, frequently glancing over his shoulder as he spoke. "If you're watching this, something is wrong." He said in the recording, "I've spent 30 years tracking these people, connecting the dots no one else can see. Tomorrow I'll meet Joanna to hand over everything, but I don't think I'll make it. They've been watching my house. I've prepared this backup and hid my research where they won't find it." "In my journal, there are names you wouldn't believe are involved in this. Check the auction records for the items I've listed. That's where you'll find the evidence." The video ends with Fritz providing coordinates for what he described as a backup, a second cache of evidence he had hidden at another location. When agents tracked these coordinates to an abandoned farm silo 20 miles away, they discovered waterproof containers containing additional documents, photos, and, most importantly, several items Fritz had identified as stolen from victims' homes. These items had never been included in the official police reports and were equipped with Fritz's research and physical evidence from his secondary cache. The FBI began taking action against the individuals named in his journal. On April 5th, 2025, coordinated raids were carried out at 16 locations across the Midwest, targeting antique shops, private homes, and storage facilities linked to Fritz's suspects. The operations recovered dozens of items matching descriptions of stolen property from victims' homes in unsolved cases. What was even more troubling was that some locations contained hidden rooms similar to the one under Fritz's library, spaces dedicated to cataloging stolen items and planning operations. At one site in rural Missouri, agents uncovered a sophisticated workshop where recognizable features of stolen antiques had been altered to avoid detection. The raids led to 12 arrests, including 3 prominent figures in the world of antiques. 2 of the suspects arrested were former law enforcement officers who had actually been involved in some of the initial investigations, explaining how the group had managed to stay ahead of the police for decades. Their connections allowed them to track the progress of the cases and redirect attention when investigators came too close. FBI analysts determined that this network had been operating for at least 4 decades, using legitimate antique trading businesses as a cover for theft, and when necessary, stolen violent items from victims were altered and kept for years before being sold through seemingly legitimate channels to unsuspecting collectors. The profits from these sales helped sustain a comfortable lifestyle for those involved, while the cases slowly faded from attention. Although the criminal network had been successfully dismantled, there was still no evidence indicating that Fritz's network members knew about his planned meeting with former prosecutor Wilkes or had acted to stop him from sharing his findings. The question that haunted investigators was whether Fritz had been captured and was hiding, or worse. The breakthrough in the case came from an unexpected source on April 18, 2025, when a motorcycle mechanic in northern Minnesota contacted authorities after recognizing Fritz's name and photo from news reports on the investigation. The mechanic reported that a man matching Fritz's description, though using a different name, had brought in a classic Harley-Davidson for maintenance in late February. According to the mechanic, the man paid in cash, seemed anxious, and requested that no photos be taken of the motorcycle. He mentioned that he would be staying in a secluded cabin and had bought supplies, indicating he planned to stay there for a long period of time. The most notable detail was that he asked the mechanic to install a hidden compartment on the motorcycle. The mechanic's unusual request led FBI agents to be dispatched immediately to the area, focusing on remote properties matching the general location described by the mechanic. After 3 days of searching, they located a small cabin accessible only by a narrow trail, with a motorcycle fitting the description covered by a tarp beside it. Approaching cautiously, the agents surrounded the property before announcing their presence. The man who emerged from the cabin was indeed Frank Fritz, though nearly unrecognizable. He had lost weight, grown a beard, and dyed his hair. When the agents identified themselves, Fritz's first words were, "Did you find what I left on the floor?" Only after being assured that his research had been recovered and was being processed did he agree to go public and accompany the agents. Once safely detained by the FBI, Fritz revealed the full story. He had conducted his own unofficial investigation for decades, starting after his childhood friend went missing in the late 1970s. During his years working for American Pickers, he seized the opportunity to gather information, visit crime scenes, and make connections that law enforcement had missed. "I never intended to be an amateur detective," Fritz explained in the official press conference. "But once I began to recognize patterns that I couldn't stop seeing, I realized these weren't random crimes. They were calculated, organized, and interconnected by the antique trade, which I know all too well." Fritz described how he first became suspicious when he recognized items at private auctions that matched descriptions of stolen property from unsolved cases. As his awareness grew, he began documenting the similarities between the cases and tracking the movement of specific items in the market. His expertise in antiques allowed him to detect alterations meant to conceal the origins of certain items. Most chillingly, Fritz revealed that he had encountered several members of the network during his American Pickers career, even showcasing some of their legitimate businesses on the show. He had used these encounters to gather information while maintaining his cover. "Just an enthusiastic collector," Fritz told investigators. "The turning point came last year. I was at a private auction in Chicago when I discovered a unique decorative art clock that I knew had been taken from a house in Wisconsin, where the owner was found murdered in 1996. The clock had been modified, but I recognized the unique mechanism when I casually inquired about it. The seller's reaction told me everything I needed to know. They recognized me, and they were not happy about my questions." In the weeks that followed, Fritz noticed surveillance around his property. Strange cars would park along the road near his house, and he began receiving hang-up calls at odd hours. Early in 2025, believing he was in danger, he built a secret room under the library floor to protect his research and contacted former prosecutor Wilkes. "I knew they wouldn't stop at just threatening me," Fritz continued. "These people have killed before to protect their operations. The night before my scheduled meeting with Joanna, I discovered someone was trying to bypass my security. That's when I put my backup plan into action." Appear as though I was still at home while sneaking out through a tunnel I had built in the basement, staging my disappearance, hiding evidence at multiple locations, and heading north with cash and supplies. Fritz's incredible story and the evidence he had gathered led to one of the most significant breakthroughs in the Midwest's history. In June 2025, the FBI charged 23 individuals connected to the criminal network with crimes ranging from theft and burglary to murder and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors estimated that the group was responsible for at least 11 murders and dozens of major thefts spanning 4 decades. The secret room under Fritz's library became famous in law enforcement circles, a testament to one man's determination to solve cases abandoned by official channels. The image journals and meticulous research were described by an FBI analyst as far more comprehensive than many police investigations, with connections made that would not have been possible without Fritz's expertise in antiques and collectibles. After being interrogated by authorities and providing testimony to grand juries in multiple states, Fritz was placed into temporary witness protection until all members of the network could be apprehended. His health, which had been unstable since his stroke, improved thanks to proper medical care, and he expressed relief that his decades-long search for justice had finally come to an end. When asked why he went to such lengths, despite the personal safety risks and the ultimate cost to his life, to investigate crimes that didn't directly involve him, other than his childhood friend, Fritz's answer was simple. In the years I collected items, I always believed that objects carried stories and history, but I also understood that when items disappear, sometimes people do too. Someone has to speak for them. Someone has to remember. The case became famous within the FBI, known as the Picker's Pursuit, not only for the crimes solved, but also for the unexpected detective at its heart. A man with a sharp eye and authenticity in antiques who took down a criminal organization that had evaded professional investigators for generations. Fritz's estate, with its secret room and hidden evidence, has since been donated to the Scott County Historical Society. Though the library floor has been permanently sealed, it remains a reminder of the extraordinary lengths one determined individual went to pursue the truth and justice. Although the library floor has been permanently sealed, the story of one individual's determination and courage continues to be a legacy. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next exciting stories. Hello everyone. Today we'll dive into the shocking story of Rick Harrison. At 60 years old, Rick has confirmed the truth about his son's life sentence. From a small family business to a global television phenomenon, Pawn Stars is now engulfed in scandal. Join us as we explore the heartbreaking rise and fall of Rick Harrison and the devastating impact it has had on his family. Rick Harrison no longer hides the truth. His son's life sentence was inevitable. Once a successful pawn shop family, the Harrisons were once seen as a model of achievement. But now, after everything, that empire has completely crumbled. Let's take a look at why their career ended in tragedy. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on the latest developments in the tragic story of the Harrison family. What do you think about what has happened to Rick Harrison and his son? Share your thoughts in the comments below the video. In a shocking turn of events that has left fans of the popular Discovery Channel show Alaskan Bush, people reeling Noah Brown, the second-born son of the family known for his creative and thoughtful personality, has received some bad news that could change his life completely. The 31-year-old man, who was previously described as the intellectual of the family with a passion for inventions and deep thinking, now faces a personal crisis that is shaking the entire Brown family. Sources from the production team revealed that Noah recently received a troubling medical diagnosis after several months of worrying symptoms that he initially thought were due to the harsh conditions of living in the wilderness. After suffering from prolonged fatigue, unexplained weight loss, and recurring pain, Noah eventually went for an examination at the suggestion of his wife, Rain Alicia. While the diagnosis remains kept private at the family's request, it is said to be serious enough to require Noah to leave the remote mountain home in Washington, known as North Star Ranch, to seek specialized treatment that could not be provided in such an isolated location. Leaving the wild lifestyle that has shaped the Brown family's identity for generations is a huge shock to a family so tightly bonded, one that fans have followed for over a decade. Billy Brown, Noah's father and the family patriarch, who led them through their adventures in Alaska and later Washington, will surely be devastated by this news, especially after Billy passed away in February 2021 from a seizure at the age of 68. The Brown family is still struggling to maintain unity and purpose after this great loss, and Noah's diagnosis is yet another devastating blow to a family still healing from the loss of their guiding father. Noah has always approached problems differently from his siblings. According to a crew member, while others may tackle challenges in the wilderness through strength or traditional skills, Noah was the one to come up with creative solutions that no one else thought of. His mindset was a key factor in helping the family adapt to new challenges. Fans of Alaskan bush people have watched Noah grow from an oddball teenager with unique hobbies into an adult, getting married and becoming a father, all while maintaining his distinctive approach to life in the wild and embracing his family responsibilities. Noah and his wife, Rain Alicia, along with their sons Elijah, Connor, and Adam, have become a key part of the Brown family's narrative on television. Rain Alicia, who has always stood by Noah through past challenges, including the devastating wildfires that ravaged much of the family's property in Washington in 2020, is reportedly showing the same resilience in this new crisis. Sources describe her as a solid support system, keeping Noah steady as they face this tough time together while trying to maintain normalcy for their young children. Noah and Rain have always maintained a degree of independence within the Brown family, according to a production source. They were the first to build their own home on the family's land, showing their desire to create a private space while still staying connected to the larger family. This independence may prove invaluable as they face the challenge of temporarily stepping away from their life in the wilderness. The rest of the Brown family has rallied around Noah in their own unique ways, reflecting their personalities and relationships with him. Noah's mother, Amy Brown, who fought a battle with terminal lung cancer in 2017, an ordeal chronicled on the show, has been especially supportive. She draws on her own experience with a life-threatening diagnosis to offer comfort and guidance. Amy knows better than anyone in the family the significance of facing such a diagnosis, according to a family friend. Her battle with cancer forced the family to leave Alaska and move closer to medical facilities in California, an experience that profoundly changed the Brown family. Amy's strength during that time continues to inspire everyone as they now support Noah. Noah's siblings have reacted in their own ways, based on their personalities and their relationships with him. Bear Brown, famous for his extreme energy and self-proclaimed title of King of Extremes, has channeled his energy into practical help, assisting Rain with caring for the kids and taking over Noah's projects on the land. Gabe Brown, who has a close bond with Noah and is often featured on the show, is reportedly deeply affected by his brother's diagnosis. The two brothers have frequently worked together on projects, with Gabe's physical strength complementing Noah's technical expertise. Rain Brown, the youngest sister who has grown into a thoughtful woman before the viewer's eyes, is now focused on providing emotional support, spending time with Noah's children to help maintain their connection to the larger family during this uncertain time. Bird Brown, who has always exhibited strong maternal instincts, has taken on the role of caregiving, ensuring that everyone is looked after as they face this difficult news. Bam Brown, often regarded as the most practical of the siblings, has been handling logistical matters, researching treatment options, and coordinating with medical professionals. Matt Brown, the eldest son, who has been estranged from the family in recent years due to personal struggles and addiction, reached out to Noah upon hearing about his diagnosis. Though their relationship remains complicated due to Matt's distance from the family, sources say this crisis has provided an opportunity for healing in their fractured relationship. The Brown family has faced numerous challenges throughout their time in the public eye, from losing their original home in Alaska to Ami's cancer battle, from destructive wildfires to Billy's sudden death. Each crisis has tested their family motto, extreme north together forever, facing every challenge as a united force. Noah's diagnosis is the next challenge in this ongoing series of trials, redefining what it means to live in the wilderness for the wolf pack, as they call themselves. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos about Rick Harrison's life. What are your thoughts on the downfall of the Harrison family? Share your opinions in the comments below. The Brown family is not just about surviving in the wilderness, according to a longtime producer of the show. What viewers love about them is their commitment to facing adversity together, adapting, and overcoming challenges as a family unit. That's exactly what's happening now. They are adapting to support Noah through something that cannot be solved with creative inventions or physical strength alone. Noah's health crisis is particularly poignant because it comes at a transitional time for the family and the show after Billy's death. The family has been searching for a new purpose and direction, with some members pursuing personal projects while trying to maintain the shared vision Billy had for their mountain home. Noah's condition forces them to reassess their priorities once again, considering which aspects of their lifestyle are truly essential and which ones need to change to accommodate health treatment needs. Billy always taught us that living in the wild isn't just about where you live, but how you live, with freedom, independence, and family at the center, Noah said in a recent episode filmed before his diagnosis. Sometimes, that means making tough decisions to protect what matters most. These words now carry a new meaning as Noah and his family face difficult decisions regarding treatment plans and their future. Discovery Channel has not made an official statement regarding Noah's condition or how it might affect filming of future episodes, although production sources say the network has been supportive and is ready to adjust filming schedules and locations to accommodate Noah's medical needs. The Brown family has always been open about sharing their personal struggles with the audience, believing that their experiences can help those facing similar situations. The show is at its strongest when it showcases the real difficulties the family faces, according to a TV critic who has followed the show since its early days. While some critics have questioned their lifestyle or the authenticity of what they present, no one can deny that the Brown family has shared genuine human experiences, love, loss, illness, and recovery, things everyone can relate to, no matter where they live or how they live. Medical experts who are not involved in Noah's care but are familiar with the challenges of managing serious health conditions in remote areas say the Brown family now has to balance living off the grid with the need for regular medical care, which can be quite challenging. Dr. Meredith Chen, a rural medicine expert, explains, "Living off the grid can be particularly difficult when someone needs frequent medical care. Depending on the condition, there are factors to consider such as access to electricity for medical devices, storing medications in a refrigerator, and proximity to emergency services. These factors often force families to make tough decisions when they are committed to living in remote areas." For Noah, whose identity is tied to his mechanical creativity and ability to find solutions for living in the wilderness, this health crisis is not just a physical challenge but also a personal one. His inventions, from homemade hunting tools to elaborate shower systems, have showcased his unique approach to life in the wild. Now, he is facing a challenge that requires him to relinquish some control and independence, accepting help from medical professionals and family in ways that may feel at odds with the spirit of self-sufficiency in wilderness living. Noah has always been a thinker, someone who needs to understand how everything works according to a crew member who has worked closely with him. That's both his strength and his challenge in this situation. He's researching everything about his condition, wanting to understand every detail of the treatment process, but he's also learning to recognize that some things cannot be solved with perfect inventions or clever solutions. Rain Alicia, who joined the Brown family as an outsider but has now become an essential part of their story, is currently navigating multiple roles, supporting her husband through treatment, caring for their young children during a stressful time, and maintaining relationships with the larger Brown family, which has its own complex dynamics. Her background, which includes living in more conventional environments before joining the Brown family's wilderness lifestyle, provides a valuable perspective as the family faces this health crisis. Rain brings a different perspective to the family, said a member of the production crew. She respects the lifestyle in the wild, but she's not defined by it in the way the Brown family has been. That outsider perspective can be really valuable when the family needs to consider alternatives to their usual ways. The Brown family's faith, which has been referenced occasionally on the show, especially through Ami's comments about divine guidance during difficult times, is believed to play an important role in how they're facing Noah's diagnosis. The family has always maintained a spiritual connection with nature, seeing their way of life as in harmony with divine intention. Now, they are drawing upon those spiritual resources to seek meaning and purpose in this new challenge. For fans of Alaskan bush people, who have followed the Brown family through many stages of change, Noah's health crisis represents another development in the family story. The show, which began as a documentary about a family living in the wilds of Alaska, has gradually evolved into a larger chronicle of family relationships tested by harsh circumstances. Noah's situation continues this narrative thread, challenging the Brown family's bush lifestyle principles when faced with modern medical needs. The show has never been just about isolation from the modern world, as explained by a television producer who has worked on similar reality shows. It's about a family making intentional choices about how they interact with modern society, what they accept and what they reject. Noah's health situation is forcing them to make new choices, new compromises, but not necessarily in conflict with their core values of self-determination and family unity. As Noah undergoes treatment, the family is reportedly trying to incorporate elements of their wilderness lifestyle into his medical journey. Bear has gathered natural materials to decorate Noah's treatment room, while Bird is preparing traditional remedies to supplement his medical care. Gabe has set up a workshop space so Noah can continue working on small creative projects during his treatment whenever his health allows. Maintaining a connection to his creative identity is crucial. The Brown family has always been adaptable, which is how they've survived in harsh environments, according to a wildlife expert who has advised the show. They are applying that adaptability to this situation, finding ways to maintain their bonds with each other and their values, even when circumstances require them to temporarily live in a more conventional setting. For those who have followed the Brown family's journey over the years, Noah's health crisis represents a new chapter in a story that has consistently highlighted themes of resilience, adaptation, and enduring family relationships. While the specific nature of his diagnosis remains private, the broader narrative of facing adversity with courage and the support of family continues the tradition that has made Alaskan bush people more than just a show about surviving in the wild. What keeps viewers engaged is not just the novelty of their lifestyle, as noted by a network executive familiar with the production. It's the raw emotion in their family relationships, how they face challenges together. Their way of dealing with challenges resonates with viewers from all walks of life. Noah's situation, while deeply personal, taps into universal human experiences of vulnerability, care, and searching for meaning in difficult circumstances. As the Brown family faces this trying time, their story continues to evolve, proving their ability to confront any hardship through love and unity. The identity of the bush people they've cultivated is not just defined by geography or survival skills, but by a philosophy of facing life's challenges with creativity, mutual dependence, and unwavering loyalty to family. For Noah, who has always been more introspective and somewhat separate from his siblings, this health journey may reveal new depths of strength and resilience, aligning with the family's values, even if it requires temporary separation from their mountain home. The Alaskan Bush People production team is reportedly working closely with the family to determine whether and how to incorporate Noah's health journey into upcoming episodes, while also respecting the family's privacy and the authentic storytelling that has become a hallmark of the show. Whatever direction is taken for the future of the show, Noah's situation has fundamentally shifted the dynamics of the Brown family in ways that will undoubtedly impact the broader narrative going forward. The Harrison family situation on Pawn Stars is also shocking. The founder of the multi-million-dollar empire surrounding the family's pawn shop has confirmed troubling rumors about his son. His son has been sentenced to life in prison, plunging the Harrison family into a severe crisis. The Harrison family empire, once a foundation of reality television, is now facing its darkest chapter in history. The Pawn Stars empire, once unstoppable, is now teetering on the brink of collapse. Stay tuned as the truth behind this devastating family tragedy is revealed, and what's to come will leave even the most loyal fans stunned. The fall of a Vegas empire. Rick Harrison, now 59, is drowning in an ongoing family storm and legal nightmares. Initial rumors about his son's legal troubles have escalated into a full-blown crisis, threatening everything he has built. The gold and silver pawn shop, once a major tourist attraction, is now nearly empty as the family name becomes synonymous with scandal rather than savvy deals. Just when things couldn't seem worse, they spiral even further. In the shadow of a collapsing empire, the question remains, how much did Rick know? And when did he know about this situation? Before becoming a household name, Richard Kevin Harrison was just an ordinary salesperson in Las Vegas, trying to make a living. Born in Lexington, North Carolina, Rick moved to Las Vegas as a teenager with his parents. His father, Richard, also known as Old Man Harrison, opened a gold and silver coin shop in 1981, a simple operation just enough to get by. "We were very poor back then," Rick often recalls in interviews. "There were months when we couldn't even pay the electricity, and my dad had to sit in the dark with a flashlight counting coins just to pay rent." The shift from selling coins to pawnbroking was more of a necessity than a vision. After their coin shop was broken into and insurance didn't cover the losses, the family had to find a new direction. They obtained a pawn license in 1989 and moved to Las Vegas Boulevard, where the famous gold and silver pawn shop was born. For nearly 2 decades, the Harrison family operated in silence, building a reputation with locals for fair deals and deep historical knowledge. Rick taught himself to understand everything from Civil War swords to classic pinball machines. "I read from 3 to 5 hours a day," Rick explained in a 2010 interview. "I'm not a naturally smart person. I just work harder than everyone else. While others are partying, I'm researching the difference between a real and fake Paul Riv silver item." The family's journey changed forever in 2009 when History Channel decided to experiment with a pawn shop family like no other. Pawn Stars premiered with modest expectations but quickly became a ratings phenomenon, attracting over 7 million viewers per episode at its peak. The show's winning formula combined history lessons and family dynamics. Rick's straightforward business sense, son Corey's ambitious negotiations, and the humor of friend Austin Chumley made for the perfect reality TV trio. The wisdom of Old Man added generational depth, attracting viewers across various age groups and demographics. "We never thought we would become famous," Rick admitted in a special celebrating the 10th anniversary of the show. "We thought we might have 1 or 2 seasons, make a little money, and then go back to normal life, but everything changed completely." And indeed, within just 3 years of the show's debut, the struggling pawn shop had earned over $20 million annually just from merchandise sales. The pawn shop expanded from 1,800 square feet to 15,000 square feet, serving over 4,000 customers daily. Rick's personal net worth increased to an estimated $9 million. The Harrison brand expanded into books, speaking engagements, and spin-off shows. Rick capitalized on his newfound fame to open Pawn Plaza, a shopping container park right next to the pawn shop, which included restaurants and retail stores. His autobiography, Licensed to Pawn, became a New York Times bestseller. Despite the cameras and crowds of tourists, the gold and silver pawn shop continued to maintain its family-run operation, spanning 3 generations. Richard Old Man Harrison held 51% of the shares until his death in 2018, while Rick was the one running the business and the public face of the operation. Rick's son, Corey Big Hoss Harrison, began working at the counter as a child, truly growing up in the pawn business. When the show came around, Corey took on much of the day-to-day management, although his father still tightly controlled major decisions. "My dad's teaching style was to throw you in the deep end and see if you swim," Corey once explained. "When I was 9, he made me appraise jewelry. If I was wrong, the money came out of my allowance." Rick's younger son, Adam, mostly stayed behind the scenes and occasionally appeared in early episodes before deciding to pursue interests outside the family business. The show rarely mentioned him, creating the impression that Corey was Rick's only son, which later caused tension within the family. The chemistry between the family members was not entirely scripted. Rick's vast knowledge genuinely impressed viewers, while Corey's efforts to modernize the business created authentic generational conflict. Old Man Harrison's frugality was not an act. Employees confirmed that he would turn off lights in rooms even while filming to save electricity. The success of the show not only changed the Harrison family business, but also the lives of countless individuals featured on screen. Local experts who once appraised items for modest fees became celebrities in their own right. Danny the Count Coker turned his motorcycle expertise into a spin-off show counting cars, while toy expert Johnny Janez opened a successful vintage toy store at Pawn Plaza. The show's impact was even more far-reaching. Rick became a sought-after speaker on entrepreneurship, earning $30,000 per speaking engagement. Corey bought a mansion in the upscale Summerlin community and built a luxury car collection. Chumley, previously a minimum-wage counterstaff member, became a millionaire with his own product line. The show also changed lives by focusing on history. Book curator Rebecca Romney, who appeared as a rare books expert on the show, received thousands of messages from viewers inspired to explore literature. People wrote that they had never cared about books until they saw a $20,000 book on the show. Suddenly, they visited libraries and read classic works. Perhaps the most meaningful impact were the stories behind the family's items brought to the shop. Vietnam War veteran Michael Sandoval came in with his father's Purple Heart medal, not to sell it, but to share its story on national television. "My dad never talked about his service," Sandoval said tearfully. For Rick to authenticate his medal and tell his story on national television meant more than any amount of money. As Pawn Stars entered its second decade on the air, cracks began to show in the carefully maintained Harrison family image. The first signs of trouble appeared in 2015 when Corey was arrested for assault after a bar fight in Michigan. Although the charges were dropped, the incident exposed a previously undisclosed pattern of irritable behavior. Chumley's legal troubles escalated in 2016 when police searched his home during an investigation into sexual assault allegations. While the assault claims were unfounded, authorities discovered illegal weapons and drugs, leading to 3 years of probation and causing severe damage to the family-friendly reputation of the show. Behind the scenes, tensions between Rick and Corey grew over business decisions and profit sharing. In Season 15, viewers noticed fewer scenes featuring both of them together, with Rick and Corey often filming on different days. Production staff leaked information about heated arguments they continued to have even after the cameras stopped rolling. The death of Richard "Old Man" Harrison in 2018 removed the stabilizing father figure from the family, and his will revealed unexpected family conflicts as he explicitly excluded one of his sons, Christopher Keith Harrison, with the statement, "I wish to express my love and affection for Christopher Keith Harrison, however, for the purposes of this will, I intentionally and with full knowledge do not provide for him or his descendants." This public revelation of family discord signaled a greater crisis within the Harrison family. Signs of more serious legal trouble began to surface in early 2022 when Corey Harrison abruptly disappeared from filming midway through the season. The show offered no explanation, simply continuing with Rick and Chumley taking over the episodes. Fan forums buzzed with speculation, but the Harrison family remained tight-lipped. TMZ later reported after 3 months that Corey Harrison had been arrested on multiple serious charges, initially drug trafficking and weapons possession, but court records remained sealed, fueling even more speculation. Rick issued a statement requesting privacy while the family dealt with the difficult situation. As weeks passed, more troubling details began to emerge. Federal prosecutors were building a case against Corey for allegedly using the pawn shop's infrastructure to distribute controlled substances across states. The investigation appeared to have been ongoing for years, with former employees cooperating as confidential witnesses. The most shocking part was the claims that this criminal organization had operated partly in the open, with cryptic transactions appearing in episodes that contained veiled references to illegal activities. Fan pages began to rewatch older episodes meticulously, searching for clues they might have missed. Rick publicly defended his son's innocence, while the History Channel suspended the production of new episodes. Viewership for reruns plummeted as sponsors withdrew. The gold and silver pawn shop saw a 70% drop in tourist traffic, forcing it to lay off longtime employees. The trial began in September 2022 amidst unprecedented public backlash. Court TV bought the rights to air the trial, and a temporary media camp surrounded the federal courthouse. Rick attended court every day, looking visibly worn out, the stress causing him to appear much older. Evidence presented by the prosecutors painted a damaging picture. Financial records showed unclear cash flow through shell companies linked to Corey, while surveillance footage recorded after-hours meetings with individuals later identified as notorious drug dealers. The most damning evidence came from former shop employees who claimed to have known about the illegal activities as far back as 2017. The defense attorney argued that Corey was being targeted because of his fame, and that the evidence was purely speculative. They claimed he had been set up by disgruntled former employees looking for revenge or financial gain through future civil lawsuits. Character witnesses, including childhood friends and charity organizations, testified about his generosity and contributions to the community. The most dramatic moment of the trial came when federal prosecutors called Rick Harrison to testify. He invoked the Fifth Amendment, refusing to answer questions about whether he knew about his son's activities. His silence left a strong impression on the jury, though legal analysts debated whether it indicated guilt or was simply a father's attempt to protect his son. After 6 weeks of trial and 3 days of deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict on all charges. The judge, citing the organized nature of the crimes and Corey's abuse of his public platform, sentenced him to the maximum penalty: life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Months after the sentencing, Rick Harrison disappeared from public view. The pawn shop operated with reduced hours, managed by longtime staff without any family presence. History Channel officially canceled Pawn Stars after 19 seasons, ending one of the longest-running reality shows on cable television. Then, a shocking interview left even longtime Las Vegas observers stunned. Sitting with Anderson Cooper in an exclusive CNN interview, Rick finally spoke out, looking gaunt and with shaky hands throughout the conversation. He confirmed the rumors that many had suspected. "Yes, the rumors are true. My son is serving a life sentence, and yes, I have known about his troubles for many years." In this candid and uncensored conversation, Rick revealed his own struggles with guilt and responsibility. "I pushed him too far. I expected too much. The show put pressure on all of us, but especially Corey. He was just a kid when we started, and suddenly he became famous, had money, and people used him. I should have protected him better." What shocked many the most was Rick's admission that the problems began in Season 4 of the show. The truth is, Corey started having problems in Season 4. We covered it up, helped him privately, and thought it was handled. But fame is like a magnifying glass. It turns small problems into big ones. By the time I realized how bad it had gotten, it was too late. The interview ended with Rick apologizing to the fans. "We've come into your homes for many years. You trusted us, thought you knew us. I'm sorry we weren't what you thought. I'm sorry I failed as a father, and I'm especially sorry to those affected by what happened. It's something I'll carry for the rest of my life." Rick Harrison's life, from a famous TV star to the painful upheavals, has become a story that makes many reflect. Even though he has lost everything, can he find peace again? Stay tuned for updates on his ongoing journey through these difficult times. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to